Spoonie meets Sir Alex Ferguson.
This is 5 Live Sport.
So, if I may, I just want to set the picture, set the scene where we are, because we're now in the official inner sanctum of Sir Alex Ferguson. Snooker room, wood-panelled walls, a wide array of books, a little bar. Is this your home within a home?
This is it. This is where I'm on most nights. I've got my TV up here and I've got my snooker table and all my old books here, and I sometimes rumble through and try to put them in different orders and things like that, but, you know, as you see, it's got an extensive list of books, you know, so...
I mean, I must say, other than it being a beautiful house, it feels like a home.
Yeah.
Is that down to Mrs. Ferguson?
Yeah, she's the boss. She's done it all. So when we actually, believe it or not, we actually not conned her into buying the house, but guided her along that route. I got Jason and Tanya to come down one day. There's a new house opened up the road, it's nearly finished. We'll have a look. Then I got a sister down to do the same. So bit by bit we sort of arm twisted her. It's nice, but why would I want to leave? So
does she know this story? She isn't going to hear this for the first time.
No, she knows.
Okay.
She's clever enough.
So, like, you know, home life, obviously we know you for Sir Alex Ferguson, the football manager, but your home values seem to be right at the heart and core of you. I think it's been
instrumental in how well I've done, because the wife is 46 years married. It's a long time. I have 11 grandchildren, 3 sons, and 3 daughter-in-laws, and you know it's quite a full family really. And Kathy is fantastic with the kids. It's a military operation with her, you know. And they misbehave. They're in the doghouse, but no, she loves the children. Come here, the grandchildren, and we have maybe 2 or 3 every weekend, you know.
Do you babysit?
Oh no, I'm not that good. No. Mind you, the last night I had 3 grandchildren, got 3 grandsons up here watching the game with me yesterday. So they were good company.
So that's interesting, because obviously they've grown up in and around football, and they're sitting there watching the game with their granddad. Did I ever ask questions, or they're more likely to give tactical questions?
Oh no, well, Harvey is the know-all. You know, he's got a million questions a second. You know, he's just questions. Why did you play him on Saturday and things like this? And they've all got their favourites. And Harvey's favourite is Nanny. Yeah. You know, so I said, Harvey, give me a break. 1 question a day, please. I can't take all this.
Not an hour a day.
He said, but no, they love their football and they come to the games as much as they can, you know. And football dominates this room, really. I normally watch a game every night. With the way the football is today, Spoonie, that when you get games on Monday night, you've got European football Tuesday, Wednesday, Championship games on Tuesday nights. The only night really you're not getting any football is Thursday nights until the Europa League starts. Of course, I'll be involved in that. I'll miss my TV.
And you won't be watching it though.
I won't be watching it.
So a typical day, what sort of time do you get up in the morning and head into training?
Well, goes off about 10 past 6 this morning, normally 6, but I was in for 7:45, 10 to 7. And I like to go to my meetings early morning. My medical staff come in at 7. So if there's any issues, we can get out of the road. We have breakfast together. Sometimes I'll get into the gymnasium for half an hour. Not as much as I used to, but I try to get 2 days a week, at least, getting in the gymnasium. And then any meetings are usually around about 8 o'clock. If anybody wants to come and see me at 8 o'clock.
Is that the players?
No.
Okay.
Anyone outside the players, because they knock on your door all the time. You know, once the training's finished, or just before training, one of them will knock on your door for some reason or another. But I enjoy that because it tells you that they trust me and they can confide in me with whatever problems they have. It doesn't matter to me, you know, it doesn't go anywhere, but, you know, you try to help if you can. Sometimes they just want an arm around their shoulder. Sometimes they're asking for something. They maybe want a day off.
Yeah.
I say, yeah, if you want a day off, take it.
Because this is the thing, and it does need to be said, and it needs to go on record that, you know, I've met you on numerous occasions, and now we're sitting in, and albeit doing an interview, we're having just a chat. You're a charming man, but there's many people that see you scowling, fluffing, angry, shouting. I mean, when you see yourself on TV, do you think, who is that guy?
I don't know, but I know who he is, all right, because I'm well aware of this changing mood at the time. Well, no changing mood, but There's nothing wrong with losing your temper, I must say that, because if it's for the right reasons, there's nothing wrong with it. It doesn't do it. Sometimes you're better getting out your system anyway. People who bottle up things, you wonder whether it's doing them any good. I think I tend to, and then my normal pattern of management is to get out of my system. I tell players after the game, and that's it, finished.
Right.
You know,
so you're not going to sulk and
I am not. Next day to me is a new world.
How do you then deal with, say, in the changing room, another strong character? Do you see that as someone who is a birds of a feather or someone who's being disruptive?
Birds of a feather. I think all managers like to see themselves in the mirror. They like to see their players as them, you know. And I'm a wee bit like that. I like to see the characteristics I had as a player. I mean, I don't have any confrontations really. There's not nowadays, but maybe when I was younger I would have confrontations with players.
Was that as much because of the player or you yourself?
I think,
how you deal with it?
I think that how I dealt with the thing, you know, that if a player answers me back, I just head straight for him. And this is where his hairdryer treatment comes in. We know I head straight towards the player. I see that I don't allow players to beat me in an argument, you know. Nowadays it's different. I mean, I'm older and more experienced. The players are, because they know you're old and you're time you've been at club, they've great respect for me. We don't have any real issues. You know, I lose my temper still after games. Nobody says anything.
I've seen you angry. I've seen you very, very happy. But we never see you. We don't see you stressed. How do you manage that? How do you contain that? Because I have seen some managers, they look like they're flapping on the line. You look like you're in charge.
Well, see, a lot of people say you're awful doer during the games, and the reason is I'm concentrating the match. My brain is going to take in everything. I don't take notes. I've never taken notes. I've relied on my memory of things that happen in the game. So as I'm concentrated, I'm doer looking. Yeah, there's nothing you do with your facial expressions. You've got it. Doesn't mean say look.
It doesn't mean you're not stressed. But how do you manage it?
I don't feel stressed. I must admit. I'm actually more anxious when I'm watching Man City playing Villa than my own game on Saturday against Liverpool. But you know, Villa hanging on there and there's 0-0 at half time. You say to yourself, can they win the match? You know, and I couldn't see how they could win the match because Man City seemed to be in control, you know. But by concentrating really well in a game of football, then you don't think about what's going to happen if you lose, what you're going to say to the press.
You're not focused on the outcome.
There's nothing else you're focused on in the game. So there's no need to feel stress. There's no vehicle for you to feel stress if you keep concentrating. Another thing we've got to remember about stress anyway, take away the football side, there are people who by their own nature feel stress, whether it's opening a gas bill or whatever. It's a fact of life.
Yeah.
And some people find it very difficult to cope with that. But some other people just sail through life, you know, are caring the world.
Penalty takers. Some people think, yeah, this is perfect, I'll do this easily. And other people are, I'm going to the halfway line. And they can't even watch it, let alone take one.
I had a young boy, we played in the tournament in Groningen. And a young player wouldn't take a penalty. Going to a penalty shoot against Bayern Munich. I said, maybe you don't take a penalty. I'll miss. I says, when I get on there, just boot the thing. And he scored. And he'd done a lap of honour for about 3 days. He couldn't believe he could actually score with a penalty kick. But you know, that's the kind of thing that, I can't take a penalty kick, please, bastard. You're taking a winning penalty kick and you'll hit it and you just whack it. And he just kept on running around the park.
But you had to instill that confidence and that belief in him.
Yeah.
It wasn't self-confident.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that sometimes you've got to force young players or any player into bettering what they think they are, you know?
Yeah.
And I always say that this great belief factor that you can have. That
you get someone like Cristiano Ronaldo who 100% believes in his ability.
Unbelievable.
But then you get other players that are good players but don't believe they're as good as they are.
Yeah, there has been a few players like that. Their character is laid back and they're not pushers, you know. You see the personalities of the dressing room with a strong personality. You know, Hugh Borrell's hard. You know, we've had plenty of them over the years. Yeah. Robson, Keane, Bruce, Hughes, Ince, and unbelievable strong characters. You knew they couldn't be bullied out of a game. If you wanted football, they play football. If you want to make it a physical game, they can make it physical. They could set the tone of any game they wanted because they were that good. They were an unlucky team. If the rules at the time would have allowed us to play all our foreign players I think they would have gone very close to winning the European Cup. They were that good. But the teams thereafter have had equally strong personalities, but not forcibly demonstrative about it. You know, that mob were... I remember they went to Chester Races. Do you remember they went to Chester Races and they got a bit of spot of bother? And of course, when I heard of it, I get somebody phoned out and says, your boys have been in a bit of bother. I says, what are the victims like? Because you can just imagine them.
Yeah, because there's some characters that you think...
Schmeichel, Cantona, Bruce, Robson, Keane, Hughes, Ince. Jesus God. It was a fair bunch of that. But equally so, the players of the different generations in different ways have got the same kind of strength, but not demonstrative about it, you know?
It's a...
They'll do it on the pitch.
Yeah, do it on the pitch, go home, get in my car.
Correct. Because I called them in once, that mob, and we did 3 sending-offs in a week or something like that. And I says, just one more bloody time, I'm telling you, you will all be with me like that. So yes, boss says. And they went out, I heard them going down the stairs, giggling and laughing. You know, as much as say,
schoolboy.
How does he expect us to change?
They must have all had disappointments not being picked, sold.
Oh, I know.
But they're still always very complimentary.
The thing about picking teams anyway, I had my own experience as a player. I would never let it happen to my own players. That I tell them before we announce the team and explain to them why. And I'm pretty straight about it. I said, look, I'm picking a team today because I think it's the best team. But next week it might be different and you may be involved next week. And I think by doing that, at least you're giving them respect and they'll keep their trust in you because they know that when they ask somebody else to do it, they'll get the same story. I'm not changing it for anyone. It's a matter of picking a team you think is right. And all the players know also that they can trust me. And I've had many of them come to me with personal problems that I would never reveal to anybody, ever. It's locked in me, and I would try to help as best I can. And that trust is important because they could depend on that trust all their lives because they've been my player, you know. And I think it's an important partnership with a human being where they can trust you, they can tell you something that, and it'll not go what a steamy wife over the garden wall to anyone, you know. You've
managed to have some of the best players in the world keep coming in, keep recreating, keep having winning teams. How do you keep reinventing Sir Alex Ferguson? How do you keep reinventing Manchester United?
Basically, anyone brought on their players, it's not a problem because they're hard on them. The youth coaches, the reserve coach, myself, my own staff are very firm with them in terms of behaviour patterns, their training ethic, their work rates, all these things are easily to develop when they're young. You know, you're getting yours, you know, if education is correct, even nowadays we'll put kids into nursery at 3-4 years of age. You're given an early grounding in terms of educational values and going to school, that type of thing, the discipline that I don't know, all the schools are like, but I know the school my grandchildren go is very disciplined, very, very firm.
And that most probably would have come from their parents, their dads, getting that discipline from you. So being disciplined is, well, that's part of the course.
Oh yeah, I think it's a great asset to have. And then also that to respect your coaches. All our young players shake hands with the coaches every morning when they come. Good morning, coach. You know that, and we do that because we want them to respect the coach and let them know how important that coach is to them, because their best friend is that coach.
Spooney meets Sir Alex Ferguson.
This is 5 Live Sport.
As a boy at school, were you always an achiever? Were you always someone that made something happen? Would you go along with the gang, or would you be... No,
I was front. I would be front. Everybody says that at Play Remain.
Do you remember that, or is it just from...
No, I don't know. It's what people tell me. I'll tell you what helped me in terms of decision making. I think it's very important to remember this of decision making in terms of if you're a leader, if you're in charge of a team, is that you have to be decisive in the sense that a lot of people don't want to make a decision. A lot of people can't. But if you're good enough to be prepared to make decisions, that's a real positive vein you can put in terms of players' approach towards you. They say, never talk about defeat. It doesn't matter what team I put out, I know we're going to win. And I think being a shop steward as a young man was good, was useful to me in many ways too, about decision making, about judging the mood of things. You know, at the time I took my apprentices out in the apprentice strike back in 61, I think it was.
So you've always been a troublemaker?
I've always been a troublemaker, yes, correct. And I always remember going into the superintendent, Jim Cameron, was a nice man, was a good man. I said, Mr. Cameron, we've decided we're going out on strike. And Jim Cameron says, you can't go on strike, you're indentured apprentices. I said, Mr. Cameron, the whole of Scotland's waiting for us. So I went out, I went up to the shop steward, and Cal Mackay, famous trade unionist, and he gave us a banner, the workers' banner from Remington Rand. We walked to that factory that day. You couldn't get a better feeling your whole life. All the workers were banging the spanners and the hammers on the machines, and they brought out the nine apprentices. That's all, 9 apprentices. And the whole country was out on strike. But we were at Remington Rand because they were indentured apprentices, I think, and Rolls-Royce and Stevens Shipyard and Govan were the last out. It was fantastic when you walk through that gate and there's thousands of apprentices all waiting for you.
You're very proud of your Scottish roots.
Yeah, Scots have a great culture, different from a lot of countries. And, you know, I play up a little bit with English lads, you know. I mean, I backed Scotland against England at rugby last week, and I had absolutely no clue who was going to win that. Anyway, they gave me 5 points. I started, I thought I was doing well. I said, 5 points, great. Get bloody battered.
I think you got to set up there.
I get set up all right. Don't do that. But your pride goes before you see, in that situation.
You can't take that. You can't not take that bet.
No, you have to take the bet.
Yeah, you have to take it. One of your other passions, horse racing.
Oh.
Now, you know, growing up, I always thought horse racing was a bit of a rich man's sport, a middle class man's sport. You come from very humble backgrounds. How did you get into horse racing?
Where it started for me was, I was getting to a point in United. It was every day. Every night I was coming home and on the phone to maybe scouts, things like that, and I was getting a bit obsessed with the whole thing, you know. And then we got an invitation to go to Cheltenham on our anniversary. Our anniversary is 12th of March. So Cathy said, oh, that's be great. So a couple of days off, and we really enjoyed it. I met a couple of great Irishmen, and I got hooked. And I says to Cathy, do you fancy buying a horse? She says, where'd that come from? I said, well, I enjoyed today. I thought it was great. So I bought 2 horses, and I won its first race. Queensland Star. It was named after the ship my dad worked in Fairfields.
Because it seems like outside of football, which is, you know, the essence, you've got that passion. You just like to have a relax. You're not really looking to be rich from horse racing. It just gives you an opportunity to do something different and have a smile and just enjoy it.
Exactly. You never know. You don't get rich in racing. Ask Cathy. I'm at the stage now. I'm hiding my bills. If I get this before and so we shopped about
hide the bills
and putting the car out the road. But she knows it, man. It's not extreme for me in terms of the bills, because I was getting to a point United. I'm obsessed with the thing, you know, and you know it's a great club. But, you know, you've still got to release yourself from it a bit, and that's helped me, actually.
What a friend here for Sir Alex Ferguson. Ruby Walsh, another winner for him on the day. It is What a Friend who wins the Tote Sport Bowl.
I'm taking it on the horse racing, and then I get interested in wine, and interested in history.
So wine, we need to come on to the wine. How do you get into being such an aficionado?
It started in 1991. I went to Montpellier to check out the hotel before we played in the quarter-final of the Governors' Cup. And I stayed at this lovely little hotel in the middle of Montpellier called La Maison Blanche. And the owners of Jean-Philippe wanted to take me for lunch. So we went up this staircase to this restaurant, and in the window there was a bottle of Petrus and a bottle of Chateau d'Yquem. Well, I didn't know anything about them, but I knew I'd heard of them.
Yeah.
I said, well, they're expensive. And I said, oh, they are expensive. Trop cher. So anyway, we get to the restaurant, and the proprietor, the owner, comes across, introduces me, and he brings along a bottle of Chateau d'Yquem for lunch. So it was beautiful. So Jean said to me, are you interested in wine? I said, well, it's the only thing, I like a glass of wine, but I don't really know anything about it. He says, you buy 82s and 85s, you'll make money. So I went home. After I went home, we got to we beat Montpellier in the second leg, 2-0, get through. And I went to a lunch in the Crown Plaza, and next to me was this gentleman who was the chief buyer for Willoughby's. And I was telling him the story. He says, yeah, it's good advice, 82s, 85s, fine, doing very, very well. And I says, I wouldn't mind investing some money. So I invested, I think it was at £5,000. And he gave me a couple of books, and I started reading up and I've got a lot of books in the wine now. So I started adding, and now I've got, I don't know exactly, I've probably maybe between 2,500 and 3,000 bottles or something like that.
3,000 bottles of wine?
Yeah.
Who's bought you the nicest bottle of wine?
Big Sam bought me one for my birthday, and they were playing him on my birthday a few years back. And his kit manager brought it in the morning, wrapped up in paper. So we opened it up and put a bottle of Ribena in and strapped up again. So I left it on my table in my office. So Sam comes after the game. I said, thanks very much for the wine, Sam. Well, I may as well open it now. He says, well, I thought it was I want you to take it home and enjoy in the house. I says, no, I want to share it with you. Open up. What the hell's this? Sam, honestly, you should have seen his face. He run out that office door, screaming at the kit manager. Son! Hurry, kill him! I thought he's going to kill him. So he come back and he says, and the bottle of wine out. He says, that was brilliant. But I thought Josie brings me some good wine, and Tony Pulis brought me a lovely bottle now a couple of weeks back. Yeah, the managers are good. Harvey? That's Harvey, that's Jason's boy, the middle one.
Right, so I haven't,
and Hamish and Freddie. Kathy, Spoonie's saying hello to you.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not busy trying to get these boys.
Sorry. They're running your rag. How many girls are there, by the way?
Four.
Four girls, 7 boys.
Yeah.
Good luck.
No, I went great at maths. Hamish, out.
With the grandchildren, who are they more scared of? Grandma or granddad?
Grandmother. Don't worry about that. Absolutely no doubt with that. It's a military operation down there. There was one Saturday, was it 9 or 10, Jason, she had? She had 9, I think it was, one Saturday. And of course, they're all different, than no behaving at the table and things like that. Right, you, once more, I'm bringing a taxi. I'm sending you back home. I don't care if your mother's in or not. You get back in the taxi. Oh, Granny.
Bet they didn't play up anymore.
Oh, no, they're right. She's hard on them. She is hard on them.
Did they keep you young with their music and gadgets, and they bring and they plug things down and they're sitting there texting? Is that where you keep up to speed, or you're more likely to find out?
I'm a dinosaur.
Have you got a fake Twitter account?
No, I don't know how they do these things.
It's amazing, but two of the Manchester United players are in the top 5 in the country.
I know. Someone says that Rio's got 2 million.
And to have over 1 million is phenomenal. I think he's been on it a lot longer than Wayne Rooney. Wayne Rooney's got over 1 million.
I think Rio invented it.
He's big on Twitter.
I know, entrepreneurial skills. No, but I must admit, I'm not any good at that kind of thing. I wouldn't know how to do it. I'm a dinosaur. Jake, he did on my iPod. He did everything. He put all
so you've got one?
Yeah, I've got an iPod. I've got an iPad too. And he put all the apps in. And but I don't know how to do it. He's 7 years of age, wee Ruby. She's 7. She could do it all, But me, I'm a dinosaur.
What sort of music have you got on your iPad?
Well, I've got this Spotify.
Oh.
It's fantastic. Mm-hmm. And they say there's 15 million songs in it. And I've been going through things that I like, Sinatra, Nat King Cole, Billy Eckstine, Patsy Cline, Willie Nelson, that kind of stuff. I like all that, Mick Cullen. I like Mick Cullen. I think he makes a terrific singer.
I've been laid out from work, my rent is due. My kids all need brand new shoes.
Contemporary artist I know recently, of course, Whitney Houston passed away. I mean, she had a beautiful voice.
Unbelievable. Well, she was. When we went to the World Cup in '94, and we were staying in Birmingham and Detroit. The game was in Detroit. She was next door to me, and she had a bodyguard sitting outside her room all day.
Was it Kevin Costner?
Oh, right.
Sorry,
he was 10 stone heavier. But no, it's very sad that you see it. It's an interesting thing about people who are successful. How do they handle success? At what point, you see many times, they go over the edge. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They get, their life becomes too full. They're here, there and they're everywhere. And people who are in that industry need to be seen, you know?
Well, this is an interesting thing, and if you look at the parallels with football, that there have been many great players, you know, and some that you've managed as characters and individuals that I have this feeling that maybe because they are such great artists that they have this, not troubled soul, but they just have this little bit of something that isn't normal and right in their system.
Well, I think the public likes a devilled soul. I think it quite likes the Gascoignes, Jimmy Jones is up in Scotland, who was a real character, but hard to handle, you know.
Paolo Di Canio.
Yeah, all these, there's something in them that makes them do stuff. You say to yourself, you scratch your head and you say, why are you doing that, son? And it's maybe that it's a devil in them that needs to get out, you know. And well, Gascoigne, I try to sign Gascoigne, you know, I'd love to get him out, because when he played against us at United up in Newcastle, he'd been out of the team for weeks and they were down the bottom of the league. We went there on Easter Monday and he was starting to get, you know, we recognised that because we scouted him and said, Gascoigne's a man, need to go into him. So I played Moses, Whiteside and Robson in the middle of the pitch. They couldn't get near him. Honestly, he was unbelievable. And then ended up...
You wouldn't want to run into those three.
Exactly.
That's when you were allowed to tackle.
There's a lot of dogs.
Yeah, you were allowed to tackle. You're allowed to tackle.
Exactly. That's the difference between the intensity of the games with Liverpool. Back then, you had McMahon and Case and Robson and Whiteside. Souness. But Gascoigne that day nutmegged Remy Moses right in front of me, and he got up and he patted Remy in the back of the head, and I got that dog out. I said, "Get up, fat!" They couldn't get near him. It was unbelievable. I wish I'd have got him. I think I could have done something with him.
Is that maybe the one player that you wish you would have?
Yeah, definitely. Because if you look at English football since, say, 1966, where they won the World Cup, you'd have to say that Gascoigne's been the one real world star that England have really produced. I know Wayne Rooney's hopefully coming towards that, and once he gets some maturity. Captain
of Liverpool, I thought was quite a decent player as well, actually.
Yeah, Gerrard. Yeah, absolutely talented. There's no question about that. But did they ever get to the Gascoigne genius, you know? He was unbelievable, Gascoigne.
It was the flair, wasn't it? It is the one player that you think could have gone and played virtually for any other club side in the world.
Absolutely.
When he was on song.
He could have played for Brazil. But I think the mistake he really made was going to London at his age in 19, sort of coming up for 20. Brian Robson's a Geordie. Bobby Charlton's a Geordie. Steve Bruce a Geordie. And Gary Palliser Middlesbrough. So he had plenty of North East people at our ground at the time who could have just directed them the right way. Particularly Robbo, who liked Robbo. He loved the idolised Robbo. And Bobby Charlton could have just maybe helped him a bit, you know. But there you are. But still, what a fantastic player.
Spooney meets Sir Alex Ferguson.
This is 5 Live Sport.
Online at bbc.co.uk/5live.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
5 Live News at 7:30. I'm Kate Williams. The Home Secretary says the UK border agency will be split in two next month after a report found hundreds of thousands of people were let into the country without appropriate checks. Theresa May said officials had abandoned rules and gone further than ministers recommended in relaxing controls. 10 counties in the southeast of England are officially in drought. Water companies, wildlife experts and farmers have been meeting the Environment Secretary to discuss how to tackle some of the lowest water levels for over 30 years. The driver of a coach which crashed in northern France, killing a teacher, is appearing in court charged with involuntary homicide. 47-year-old Derek Thompson was driving a school party back from a skiing trip when his vehicle came off the motorway near Rheims. Eurozone ministers are still discussing terms for a second bailout package for Greece. It's expected the €130 billion rescue deal will be approved. And 2 men have appeared in court in Glasgow accused of posting threatening comments online aimed at senior Celtic staff. 18-year-old Ben Waldron and 21-year-old Ryan MacDonald were released on bail.
The British Board of Boxing Control have called Derek Chisora to appear before them next month to answer questions about his behaviour before and after his world title fight against Vitaly Klitschko on Saturday. Simon Grayson is the new manager of Huddersfield after being sacked by Leeds just 19 days ago. Meanwhile, Keith Curle has been appointed as the new boss of Notts County. Manu Tuilagi set for an England recall in Saturday's Six Nations game against Wales after recovering from a hamstring injury. Britain has booked more Olympic diving places today at the FINA World Cup. It's the first event to be held at the Aquatic Centre. This evening, it's the final of the men's 3-metre synchronised event, and Karen Pickering is there for us.
We're midway through round 3, and Britain's pair of Nick Robinson-Baker and Chris Mears haven't had a good start to their final. After 2 of the 6 dives, they're down in 12th and bottom position. With the host nation place secured, they don't have Olympic qualification to worry about, but will have to improve if they want to achieve their goal of a top 8 finish here.
Thank you, Karen. Champion trainer Paul Nicholls says he's concerned about the health of some of his horses ahead of next month's Cheltenham Festival. There's been a coughing outbreak at Nicholls' stables. From 8 o'clock tonight, Jason Roberts, Steve Claridge and Ian McGarry will be here for the Monday Night Club. We'll be live in Naples. We'll hear from Andre Villas-Boas and what he said ahead of their Champions League tie with Napoli. Plus, there's the latest on the Chisora Hayes story. And after 9:30, it's Tuffers and Vaughan and their cricket show. It's all after part 2 of our interview with Sir Alex Ferguson, which is next.
After a quick bit of travel, one lane's closed on the M6 northbound between 5 and 6 for Castle Bromwich and the A38M Aston Expressway. The M20 is closed coastbound between 8 and 9 for Mason Services and Ashford, and the M3 southbound entry slip partially blocked at junction 10 for Winchester. Kate Williams, 5 Live Travel.
Six Nations Rugby Union on the BBC.
It's one of the greatest tournaments on the planet, I think.
Italy searching for a little miracle. The final whistle goes. England have won the match.
Six Nations united in rivalry.
Live across the BBC. Saturday
From 1:15, Ireland against Italy.
on 5 Live Sports Extra.
Followed by England against Wales. From 4,
On 5 Live.
Spoonie meets Sir Alex Ferguson.
This is 5 Live Sport.
You are so well respected by all the managers. You know, okay, Saturday at 3 o'clock, you become enemies for 90 minutes.
Yeah,
but it seems outside of football that you're almost like the godfather.
Oh, the commitment in football. Don't people maybe really understand how hard they work? Because fans, they need the results. They want to see their team winning all the time. And that culture is changing in football. There's a great book, United Unlimited, which shows a photograph in the middle pages of Dennis Law, Jackie Challen, Paddy Crane, Billy Bremner, all in an absolute dust up in the middle of the pitch at Ellen Road. But in the background, the fans are just watching. Today, they're like screaming, they're at each other's throats.
They're like that for a couple of bad results, you know.
I see the way of Mick McCarthy, the way it felt for Mick, seeing his team beating 5-1 in a derby game, and I say to myself, God, it's going to be a hard 2 days.
Well, you know how that feels.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, exactly. I've had 2 with that. God, worst defeats of my life. But you get bad results. You must remember that the great thing about getting the defeat is not actual experiencing it, it's how you react to it. You know, and the next day, no time for sorrow, no time for feeling sorry for yourself. Get on with it. Nothing you do with it.
I mean, you're really outspoken from a manager's perspective with Steve Keane at the time when he was going through the mill.
Oh, they shouldn't allow that, that support standing behind him, heckling him. The security should be doing something about that. Look, I've every respect for the supporters, we all have, because they're the lifeblood of the game. There's no doubt about that. I mean, and they must understand that it's a result in the industry, just the same as the manager does. They're not intentionally going out there to lose games.
Yeah.
And there is a way to do it, and I think is, if a manager in the results industry knows if there's a few bad results, there's every chance his job is struggling to keep his job.
That's how the culture's changed, isn't it?
Yeah, it's absolutely. So, but there's a way to do that. They don't need to be going behind you, getting up and topping him and screaming.
I never understood why fans boo during a game when every player, every person attached to that club is still trying to win that football match.
I know what you're saying.
Why wouldn't you support them all the way to the final whistle?
Correct, then boo.
If you still feel the need to boo, boo once the game's done.
I mean, I've had sayings myself, we come up, time up, and the fans are booing, because I feel like booing myself sometimes, What the hell? And that's how you're wrapped up in the game you are, because basically most football managers were players at one time, and supporters at another time. You know, I followed Rangers, I went to watch Rangers everywhere I could.
They're going through a tough time off the field at the moment.
Mate, they're in absolute agony.
Can't you sell a few horses and buy a football club?
Oh, never. There's only one thing that happens when you buy a football club, you lose money. It's for the horses. I'm losing money on horses. I don't want to start losing the football teams. Oh, no. That's a shame of Rangers. What a great club too. You know, when I played the new jerseys every week, you know. But a lot of clubs are going through bad times, and you know when a transfer market is any good. It can help if you've got enough money to judge sensibly. But say when it's a team that's really struggling at the bottom of the league, January comes along, there's maybe a wee bit of panic, and they'll go and buy someone, and they've only got 3 months left to see the season out. It's a big risk.
It's a massive risk.
And normally they're maybe hawking themselves a bit in terms of the financial structure of their club to get a player in or 2 players in. And I don't know whether it always helps, you know. Because I'll tell you, statistically, and I've done it, I've worked this out, when you're bottom 3, from the 1st of January to the end of the season, it's very unlikely you'll win more than 1.5 points a game. Do you know that? The only team to beat that statistic was West Ham a few years back.
And they had their closing last 5 games was
6 out of 7 or something, or 5 out of 6, whatever they won.
That was the Carlos Tevez.
Carlos Tevez, he came to Old Trafford in the last game, and Neil Warnock's no forgive me sins. He still blames me. I don't know why.
Is that why you bought him? You thought he's a man for a big game?
Carlos? Well, yeah, he is a man for a big game, Carlos Tevez. No question about that. He's a big game player, and he did well in his season with West Ham. And there was an easy solution because he was loaned to us, and we paid the fee for the loan fee for that 2 years, and then with the option to buy him. But by the time the option came around, we maybe were a bit slow, of course, but his agent was everywhere with him, and the money we were getting quoted was not the money that was eventually went for. It was a lot more.
So, you know, a deal could have and would have been done.
A deal could have been done earlier on if we'd acted earlier on. There's no question about that. But I was just a bit hesitant about it. I wasn't quite sure.
I say it is sometimes. Some you get very right, and some I guess you get wrong. You just have to be decisive.
I could have bought Joe Hart for £100,000.
Wow. I tweeted yesterday.
So we all make mistakes.
I tweeted yesterday that I think Joe Hart will be in situ for at least 10 years.
Oh, no doubt about that. Absolutely. And if you look at the goalkeeping situation in England for the last 20 years, I would think he's easily the best.
I know you don't like to single out individual players, but from watching from a distance, it seems you've quite taken a liking to Rio Ferdinand. He almost seems like he was one of your youth team players, even though he came in after a couple of transfers.
Yeah, he was, but we tried again when he was 17, so I always feel that I've been tracking him all his life.
Okay.
And they refused. You know what the set is? Always remember this. Their chairman was a guy Brown at the time, and Martin Edwards phoned him to buy Rio at 17. He said, "We'll do a part exchange with Beckham."
Well, that's fair enough. You want me to give you my golden goose, I want to take your golden goose.
Well, he's from that area and doing that east side of London. But no, we've tracked Rio for a long time, and he's matured and he's become an important figure in the club. He's good with the players, good with the young players. At the moment, he's working hard on the boy Pogba, talking to him about the young boys unsure what he
seems to have a lot of respect from his peers.
He is well regarded, Rio. And, you know, his hand on, you know, the thing that must be hard for Rio was that having great agility and speed and athleticism. When you get to 33, all of a sudden he's lost a bit. Maybe 10% of it, 15%. So he has to change his game.
Adjusting.
Yeah. So he used to gamble, Rio. When a guy was slipping away from him, we wait and...
Because he could.
He could, exactly. Overdrive. We can't do that now.
So has he spoken to you about how do I adjust, how do I change it? What advice would you give me?
No, I spoke to him about it. I said, look, you're not the same player as you were 5 years ago. You can't expect to be. And you've had the back injuries. You have to take care of that. He does the yoga now, which is good. And so just adjust your game. Step back a yard. You know, you don't need to be right up on top and knowing your pace is going to get you out. That's not always going to get you now. So you have to be reading the situation better now. He's doing great. He's doing as well as ever did.
Does he come to you for all sorts of advice? Because most recently, the stuff with the England captaincy, did he seek any advice on that? Did he say...
when he was left out and the captaincy was taken away from that, and I spoke to him about it. I said, look, you know, you got to put that in your mind. There's no point in it. He says, it's maybe a good thing. I can concentrate on my job here, blah, blah, blah. But the thing is, don't forget, Rio, it's the same with us. I can't have you as captain now because you're not available every week. I have to have somebody that's available every week. And they understood that perfectly well. And, you know, it's just a matter of coping with an aging player. What we do with Giggs and Scholes. Giggs, he does the yoga. Scholes, he's come back playing again. He's lovely and fresh at the moment. And it's amazing. And the thing is, if you look after yourself, you can get the rewards like that.
Well, they turn around and say that the most successful people in life are the people that adapt to change the best and the quickest.
Absolutely. It's the same with management. Adapting. You think back a decade ago, sports science, you didn't have it. And when they make suggestions and ideas to bring us along another road or improve us another bit, I always say, as a detail, is it 1% or 2%? That's what you need to do every year, improve a little bit.
Spooney meets Sir Alex Ferguson.
This is 5 Live Sport.
Now then, it's Davy Cooper of Rangers against Neville Southall. Davy Cooper, and he scored for Scotland. And the Scottish supporters, quite correctly here, are going wild with delight. And now, with 9 minutes to go, it is Wales 1, Scotland 1, and now the game is still wide open. And who will go to Mexico? And I've just been handed a note, Dennis, from the journalist in front of us to suggest that the Scotland manager, Jock Stein, apparently had collapsed in the tunnel.
He was a very warm-hearted guy. He was a guy that didn't make friends easy. But when you did become a friend of Jock Stein, then you became a friend for a long, long time. The one thing he did say was, go out, try your best. If you come off on your knees and try your best, the result doesn't matter.
The sad night that Jock Stein passed away, you obviously,
yeah.
you were there. It had quite a profound effect on you.
It was, you know, I spoke to him in the afternoon and he had his tablets laid down on his table. I said, have you taken his... And they took one, I don't know which one it was, because he had a chest cold that week. And of course he had angina. And I don't know which, he said, I'm fed up taking these things. And I said, take it anyway. So he took one to, I don't know which one it was. And we sat and chatted, and I always remember I looked in his bed and he'd laid all his stuff. And like a lot of people, including myself included, and they must have been superstitious, he had a pair of Buckter shorts lying in his bed.
That's an old school reference.
Absolutely.
Buckter.
Buckter, you get back to Buckter in the late 50s, early 60s or something like that. And that must have been his superstition. And everyone's got them, you know, there's no question about that. And we had a long chat. And the game, what happened in the game was that there was all these cables all around our feet and photographers all over the place. And Joe got upset a little bit with the photographers lying, taking photographs and all that. And then he kept saying to me towards the end, keep your dignity, let the players go down and applaud the fans and that kind of thing. And I'm not really taking it in because you're in the game and you're seeing what's happening, unfolding, and then we equalised. And that was us through, really. And he just after that, he collapsed, and we grabbed him and took him in. And I went into, well, I came in and says, is he all right? And they say, okay, you're all right. So I'm talking to the players, and I come out and I saw Graham Souness along the corridor outside the medical room, he's crying. He says, I think the big man's gone. I said, what? Oh, Jesus Christ. I couldn't believe it. It wasn't until I got home that night that I really felt it. You know, as soon as I opened the door, Kathy says, oh, what's happened to Big Jock? And I thought, oh, that was it, you know. But he was a big figure in many ways. And I always remember he had this great affinity to working class, and particularly miners, because he was a miner himself. And in the miners' strike, we're going to a game at Tynecastle, the two is, and they were there with the cans collecting the miners. And I wasn't even thinking, I was walking by him. He said, hey. I said, what? Get a tenner in there. So I put a tenner, put it in the can. The big joke about £20 note in the can. Keep up, boys, you're doing a great job. I mean, he really thought about the miners, because he's one himself, of course, but it was brilliant, but he wasn't letting me forget it. So he was a great man.
That sort of take on life, have you instilled that into your boys? I mean, you've got 3 sons, all similar ages, pair of twins, and Mark's a little bit older. But are they quite focused as well?
I think, they're focused, there's no doubt about that. I think that, what basically you do as a parent, I remember what I had got from my own parents, they created that sort of a discipline in you, you know, and always simple things like don't be late, you know, Dad was always into this, don't be late, and stand up in the bus for women's there, you know, and I still do that. You know, if I was on the bus, I'd give a lady a seat, or an older person a seat.
Let's be honest, when's the last time you got on the bus?
At airports.
Okay, I'll give you that.
A lot of times, you'd be there and got you.
Spooney meets Sir Alex Ferguson.
This is 5 Live Sport.
Another Premier League manager recently joked that the next England manager should be someone who's been the most successful British manager of all time and had the best record with young people.
Thanks, Kenny. Thanks very much.
Kenny Dalglish kind of put you in it.
I know.
I mean, said very tongue-in-cheek, but...
I know that. Well, I said in my press conference that I'd been approached and I would give a decision the 1st of April.
But Kenny's put you up for the job. Who do you think should be the next England manager?
I think Harry should be the manager. I think you've got to understand with the English manager's job, it's a very, very difficult job. It's more a deal with the media more than anything, you know. People don't recognise that because I've looked at how different managers over the years have dealt with the press different ways. And it's a difficult beast to deal with because, say for instance, I gave you the interview today, you know, and it was in the Sun tomorrow. The Mail will be criticising me, the Express will be criticising me. So you've got to be hail fellow, well met by them all. And that's very difficult because you've got the Sundays, you've got Sky Television.
Can't serve more than one master, as they say.
It's hard work. For that, you know, I always remember Carlos Queiroz telling me when he was at Real Madrid that there's two radio stations in Madrid after the game, and if you go in one and don't go in the other, you're dead. You have to go to 2 of them, you know. If you don't go in any of them, you're dead with the 2 of them. And it's 12 o'clock at night, you know.
But that's just that, I suppose that's their football culture.
Yeah, it's their culture there. A big beast that, you know. It's hard one to handle that one. But you think of it, because kick-offs are usually 10 o'clock their time, 9 o'clock our time sometimes, you know, and Sunday nights in Spain. So by the time the game finishes, by the time you get your shower and whatever, you must be back at 12 anyway.
Throwing forward, if Harry Redknapp gets the England manager's job and he calls you and says, I want to take Paul Scholes.
Aye, well, we can talk to Paul Scholes if he likes. But I think Harry will be the manager because the point I missed earlier on was, for that job, I think you need someone that's very, very experienced, someone who's really served his time as a club manager, doesn't really need it now, and someone who's been successful in those kind of fields and has got the personality to deal with the beast of the press.
And understand it.
Understand it. Yeah. And Harry is good with the press.
Yeah.
You know, there's always a story from Harry. You know, he's good at that. So all things been equal.
You can see when he's doing his press conferences, he doesn't take it personally.
No, I know.
He doesn't, you know, he will have a laugh and he'll have a joke.
Correct.
And that's you know, that's quite interesting as a bystander. I mean, sometimes I've got to be honest, when I watch you in the press conferences and they ask difficult questions and I think, Sir Alex Ferguson loves this little bit of cat and mouse with the press.
I do. Because you can't treat it serious. You've got to find the humour of it. The first question usually tells you where they want to go. And they probably all get together and say, well, you should ask that, and then they'll ask us. They must think I'm daft. But I usually know where they're going all right. You know, I quite enjoy it, you know, to be a bit devilish. And also sometimes get a wee bit angry with them. Keep them on their toes, you know.
Keep them sharp.
Keep them sharp, exactly. But, you know, it's a change in the journalists today. You've got young guys in now and they've come in unshaven or what they call stubbles, and they've got denims. And in the older school, Bill Thornton would come in and people, and they've got a coat, still got a jacket and coat and tie on, you know.
You're 70 years old, recently celebrated your 70th birthday. You got a fantastic energy and zest for life.
Yeah.
And it seemed like 10 years ago, we're almost ready to start looking back on the career of Sir Alex Ferguson, the football manager. You found another 10 years.
I know.
How?
Well, I think you need stamina in my job. I think I'm very lucky. I'm blessed with good stamina, and I think it's maybe a lot to do with the kind of food I ate as a young person. I mean, in our house, it was always broths, chicken soups, and wholesome meat. You know, we got very, very little canned food, you know.
The ex-layer of the gods soup, chicken soup.
Absolutely, no doubt about that. And there was always soup in our house. There was always wholesome food, and we'd always have vegetables. The only tin food I can remember was Heinz's beans. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And whereas today everything's canned, you know what I mean, or it's in packaged preservers and that, you know, that even meat.
Everything processed.
Yeah,
I mean, you went to the butchers, you went to the fishmongers, you went to the market.
Yeah.
Everything was
cooperative together. You remember I can still remember my co-op number, 527.7. You go there and they knew you. And my mum and father worked, and you've got a list of messages to get and go to the cooperative. Hello, son, Ferguson, yeah, right. What's your number again? 527.7.
And it's not just to do with your health. I mean, the drive, the passion. Where has that come from? You know, new players, the success. What's driven you to say, I want another 10 years, or another 15 years?
Maybe the fact of being successful means you don't want to get in an era when you're not successful. You know, I mean, the expectation is huge, of course. And
so does that mean you're more likely to retire after winning the championship than if you don't win the championship?
Yeah, definitely. I think that you always want to go in and win a note, and hopefully we can do that. I mean, I don't know how long I can last now, but I mean, if the health stays up, I don't think another 2 or 3 years would harm me any, you know, and particularly we're having.
What does Mrs. Ferguson think? What do the children think?
She says, "Get out of the house." I know what you're saying.
Somehow I knew you were going to say that.
If you think for a minute, she says, I'm going to be looking after you and you're going to be in my road every day, you're not on. So you get another job. Maybe get Miltman's job anyway.
Just do something to the house. But I mean, outside, if you weren't going into Carrington every day, would you still work in football, or once you retire from Manchester United?
Oh no, I would definitely finish, absolutely. But I would remain active. I would do. Would
you take on a job in football administration, for argument's sake?
Well, I think there'll be a role in United after I finish, obviously, you know. But
when will you know that time has come?
I'll know when I'm not enjoying it. I think if I got to a point and I wasn't enjoying it, I would definitely do it, you know.
So as it stands, every day you get up, you have a nice zest, you look forward to 6 o'clock.
Yeah, I love it. You know what I think, you know, being out in the fresh air. You know, that's why I always, if a player asks for a day off, say, yeah, who would want to miss a day's training? You know, there has to be a valid reason for a player to ask for a day off. You know, and I don't ask them. I trust them. I say, if you need a day off, okay, no problem. And because training ground and being out in the fresh air, who would want to do that? You know, and I enjoy that.
You hold that trust thing very dear. You give them a lot of trust, don't you?
I give them a responsibility too. If you know, they want a day off and it's for a valid reason, they'll know that. And therefore, if for some reason you found it was pretty frivolous, they wouldn't get another day off.
Have any of the players asked you, you know, how long you're going to be around for? You know, if I got to sign a 4-year contract.
They do. They all do that. Now, when they sign new contracts, they ask it. Agent asks the chief executive, David Gill.
Because it makes a big difference.
Yeah, because they know me, you see, yeah.
If I'm signing for you, I want to know that you're going to be here for all best intents and purposes for the duration of my contract.
Yeah, that's true. And that becomes more difficult the longer it goes, of course. But the only way we do answer it and the way David answers is, well, he's no intention of retiring at the moment. And therefore, you know, that's not a question we need to answer, you know, because we don't know.
Have you and David Gill compiled a short list of the next man to take over?
No.
Not discussed it?
Never discussed it. I think it's a dangerous game now because it's a great example about management. The Wales job came up and the chairman phoned me, Mr. Hayward, and said, you know, that we quite fancy Man McGee, you know him well, blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, he's just joined Western City. I'm not sure that's the right road to go. I said, what about Ray Watkins at Queen's Park Rangers? He's doing very, very well. Good personality, right type. He said, well, we've been told he doesn't want the job. So I said, have you asked him? He said, well, we've got feedback that that's the case. I said, well, I'll ask him for you. So I phoned Ray and I said, look, Ray, the Wolves job's yours, great club, can be massive, blah, blah, blah. He said, no, I don't want it. I said, why? He said, well, I promised my chairman I'd give him 3 years. He gets sacked about 6 months later. The point of it is, at this very moment in time, there's maybe half a dozen managers doing very well in the Premier Division, right? Only half a dozen, because all the rest are fighting for their lives. Some are doing great jobs with the resources they've got.
David Moyes.
Unbelievable. I put him actually in the top 6 because what he's done at Everton is quite miraculous, really. So, in the case we were talking about, as we speak today, is that going to be the same in 2 years' time, say, when I'm ready to quit? You can bet your life maybe some have lost their job. So, trying to anticipate when they're doing well at the moment, may not be doing well in 2 years' time.
But then you look at somebody, I suppose, like Carlos Queiroz, who you've worked with. You may look at someone like Jose Mourinho, who's got a proven track record.
Yeah.
They're not likely to be involved in the fashion thing of the up and down. You know,
no, that's right.
Managers.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, yeah.
They're good managers, proven track record with great fundamentals.
Yeah, I think we need to go down that road, United. We need to have someone experienced, no doubt.
And I suppose how times have changed, because for a club the size of Manchester United, when you took over, even though you were experienced, you could argue, well, you were relatively inexperienced for a job of that magnitude.
Oh, if I was coming to
United today,
I would struggle. I would struggle because the beast it is. When I came, you know, we're in a bit of a valley in the sense of it. There was we're bottoming out a wee bit because Liverpool were the dominant team. They were winning all the titles, and United were well adrift from that, really. So you had to rebuild a football club, you know, and it wasn't easy. It took time, but the experience I had was that I was successful at Aberdeen. So that gave me a chance in terms of respect in the dressing room, of course, but also gave me self-confidence that I could do the job.
Yeah.
Now, if I was taking that today from Aberdeen, I think it would be a much, much more difficult task, even though they're successful.
Sir Alex Ferguson, it's been an honour and a pleasure. Even as a Liverpool fan, I've got to say
I know. I feel sorry for you.
Charming.
No, I'll tell you about one thing about us in Liverpool. They're the most fantastic games. The rivalry is unparalleled in British history in terms of the success of both clubs, and that's why we need each other. Do you know that? It's worth it to remember that. And yeah, we've had some ferocious games of them back these days. Case, Souness, Robson, Whiteside, dearie me. And they were really competitive games because the parameters for a referee were different then. You know, you give booting matches and crunching tackles, and you needed to shoot somebody to get a booking these days, you know.
There was only 2 yellow cards in the last game, so that's
I know,
good.
It's amazing. But it wasn't a dirty game, but no, it wasn't. It was a well-run game. The referee did a great job.
Yeah, he did a great job.
It wasn't an easy game, but no, the both clubs need each other. I mean, sometimes we lose to Liverpool.
Which has been quite a lot recently.
Thank you. And sometimes we win. And you do not like losing that game, but even so you love winning that game. And both sides are the same. So, thank you.
Ferguson, thank you very much.
Pleasure, Spoonie.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
Spoonie Meets is a Silver Spoon Entertainment and Something Else production for BBC Radio 5 Live.
There may be trouble ahead.